to be joining us.
Oh, wow.
And my kids are also here. So I had asked if you could facilitate for Daniel. I would like to introduce him when he comes onto the call, if he's able. He had a periodontal surgery yesterday, so hopefully he's recovering and he can participate. So we didn't make our meeting this week, so he was going to try to come today. But in case I have to be called away, Martha or Jock, do you either one of you have a preference for facilitating?
Martha, you want this time? You want to do it this time?
Yes, I will do it, certainly.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just don't want to disrupt that process in case I get called to my kids. So,
Perfect.
all
So
right. So
facilitate from the beginning, or will you facilitate
from the beginning? Please,
Okay.
please facilitate from the beginning, and then when he joins us, I'll be happy to introduce him. Hopefully he won't be too late and we won't disrupt the process. Otherwise, we can just stay muted and we'll introduce him at some point. All right, I'm off. You're on.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good morning to all the rest of you. Good evening where I am.
Good evening.
Thanks, Daniel and Cheryl, for joining us. Do we want a minute of silence before we start?
Nice.
So I'll time it. Thank you very much. I would like to ask Kona if you can say a prayer for us before we introduce Daniel.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Christ, Michael, and Mother Nebedonia, Machiventa Melchizedek, all of our celestial friends, guides, helpers, teachers, we welcome you into this space with us. We welcome your presence. We give you so much appreciation and gratitude just for being here with us. Thank you for the gift of a TR. Thank you for the gift of your communication. Thank you for the gift of opening our planet and being able to work towards the era of light and life through your co-creative practice with us. We just pray that we connect soul to soul here in this space, that we can connect with each other, we can connect with you. I pray over each person that is here today as they come into this soul connection, that they can perceive and receive the message which you would have us receive today. The pure heart, pure mind, pure intentions. And then show us what it is that you would have us do with this wisdom. Let us ask constructive questions to facilitate this co-creative process as we learn to work with you, Machiventa, and your team. We just give you again so much appreciation and gratitude for this opportunity to spend time with you. Thank you very much. Amen.
Thanks so much, Kona, for that very beautiful prayer. And Daniel, before we start, I just wanted to apologize to you for sending a transcript that had not been edited. I was busy until the early mornings editing the long 27-page transcript of our last session, and I think we all feel so grateful for the enormous gift that we received through your transmission last week. And we now have a fully edited one that's gone through all three or four sets of eyes, which we will share with you after this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
We're ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good day. This is Machiventa Melchizedek, your planetary manager. Thank you for your attendance today. Thank you for your faithful attendance, day after day, week after week, month after month, and many years after many years. It is greatly appreciated. You do not perceive the value of your attendance for future generations. As you perceive planetary management, my chores are to exercise strategic plans, and those become in some ways invisible to you because you are not attendant to those meetings, and you're not cognizant of the results of those strategic plans becoming exercised. I will give you one, at least one, this morning, today. And that is that the sorting of individuals with the capacity to be at oneness with us continues to be underway and always will be. However, the product of many years of acquaintanceship with you and you with us, we have found really heart-connected, mind-connected, soul-connected individuals on your planet, Urantia, or as you call it, Earth, who are will fit into our plans easily, and gratefully, for they will be grateful to know that someone is in charge and that there are plans and that they're being exercised. You should become aware of those individuals who are higher-minded, soul development, that they are nascent Urantial beings themselves without knowing about the Urantia book or the Havonal spheres and those in the spiritual realm and eternal realm as well. That will come in time. I will give you two for instances. One is a fellow from Germany, a mountain of a man, as this individual would call him. He's 6'4" and a young man, very pleasant. He is evolved. He is in the process of transitioning into a God-centered belief system, though from his German heritage, that might be brief. It might be truncated. It might be a bit anemic compared to yours and many others. Nonetheless, this individual will be given the resources in his mind as he opens himself to these new developments. It is remarkable that he comes from a spiritual desert, is what we call Germany. And that there are spiritual people there, but the general spiritual evolvement of the geography of that land and its population is very, very dark. It's not necessarily dark, but a better word is vacant. It is a vacant land of spiritual energy, which is very sad. We do not need to reiterate the history of Germany over the last 100 years. Or 120 years. The other individual who has come into this one's life hails from New Zealand. He lives in Auckland. He is a Maori, he was of the Maori lineage. He is a, what did I say?
Tonganese.
Yes, he is of Tongan descent. And he is a semi-retired Anglican priest who has published many wonderful documents and manuscripts. What you see in these developments is that there is the endings coming around to the beginnings. Now, if you are a Urantia book reader and you understand the teaching mission history, you realize that the first development of the teaching mission began in New Zealand, where he lives now. And that through this meditation group, they were addressed by Abraham. That's very remarkable. This was spontaneous. It wasn't planned, as they knew nothing of the teaching mission or of myself. There is in this encircuiting of past and present events and energization of the circuits that hold you together, you as a social conglomerate and as a civilization of organizations. It is important that you see these connections because you will be presented by individuals who come to you spontaneously. You will wonder, how did this person come into my life? What are the connections? And of course, you may realize that the angels and midways are afoot. This is their principal territory of making connections, making adjustments, preparing the way ahead for mortals. And as you know, and they know, their interest and our interest, our combined co-creative interest, is the burgeoning growth and development of earthly souls to the awareness that they are one of a magnificent oneness with the first source and center. This is the goal. This is home for you. And everyone that you meet has an understanding of home. Particularly the homeless on the streets, those people who push the carts along the way. You might ask them sincerely, have you an interest in going home? And they would say, of course. And there would be some say, oh, hell no, I don't want to do this. This is no way. I came from an emotionally impoverished, aggressive, punitive, predatory family. No way do I want to do this. And they might ask you if they are curious, and hopefully so, which they might do with prompting from the guardian angel or midwayer, what is this home you talk about? And so you could begin a conversation with them at the earliest beginnings of their life and the journey ahead. You, my friends, are on the forefront of the development of the new era of your civilization. You are part and parcel of the new consciousness that is budding. Has not yet bloomed, but it has been budding for over 70 years from approximate time after the World War II. There is a beginning that starts then with new generations who are in rebellion for the old traditional authorities, the male-dominated societies of organizations, and so on. We are generating a familial society, one that is connected through the generous love of brotherhood and sisterhood with the true truth, beauty, and goodness of honest and sincere fatherhood. This is where you begin. This is where you start. And this is the end of all our efforts now, is to bring into existence a planet full of stable, peaceful families that contribute to the peacefulness and productivity of a new society, one that is on the verge of entering into the days of light and life. Yes, this is a very long project. Yes, this requires the development of strategic plans in specific ways. And you, my friends, are a part of those specific plans. Your work now is to engage and learn from the team process that you have been instructed with. You know that in each team, each individual has their own role. And in that capacity, you are all equals. The facilitator has his or her job to do. You as inquiring members have your jobs to do. And the consultant and recorder know what their part is. You know partially about what the consultant, as you have studied the co-creative design team, where the consultant is a spiritual being who speaks to the team through the TR that is present. The TR in this case has no participation in the organization or the conduct or the topics of the team. It is the spiritual consultant who will guide you along the way. You now are working on the rudiments of a contemporary societal design team without a spiritual consultant. You in the future, after you become more acquainted with your roles and duties and your expertise increases, you will be guided and given a consultant and TR who will assist your team in its conduct to fulfill more of society's obligation to inform, teach, and train each new generation in the truth, beauty, and goodness of whole families, functional families, loving families. This is the key to an evolving society and to the new era. Yes, the politics will continue. Yes, wars will continue. There will be no cessation of that until it becomes obvious that such a tragic history, 20,000-year history of failure of organizational context of your societies has ended, must end. The only way forward is for social sustainability, in which there is an understanding of the basic ingredients of being human. That consists of having empathy, compassion, and a generous acts of love for the whole of humanity that you express in your own home, family, community, and where you work and play. I can appreciate your impatience. I truly can. Jesus lived here, Christ Michael lived here as Jesus for 33 years. That's a very brief time. It is an incomplete lifetime. Yet in that time, he learned so much for his seventh soul that he is one with you as your spiritual brother in all ways. He is the fatherhood of your earthly families. Nonetheless, you will have a full lifetime, except for those whose lives will be truncated by some event or other. This is a time of learning, of preparing for your morontial career. Some of you have already begun the early steps of morontial ascendancy. This means the capacity to be loving, kind, forgiving, and all of the ethical principles and ethics of wholeness and of peace. This begins at the basic level of all humans, from the genetic level. And this is the resource that the Father gave you, the Creator gave you as your resource to develop. You're not perfect beings. You have much to give as being imperfect. The Father is perfect, but inexperienced. And so you provide the experience to the Father through the God the Supreme. You provide a means by which God of all time, of all creation, of eternity, is now preparing through his organization, the advent after the days of light and life have encompassed all of the 7 super universes. Planning ahead is a good thing. It begins today. And so we thank you for beginning today, for planning your future individually and as families and as societies. I wish you well, my friends. I'm open for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much, Machiventa. Are there any questions before I ask Kona to introduce Neil as well? Jacques, do you have a question?
Yeah. Bonjour,
Please go ahead.
Bonjour, Machiventa. It's always a pleasure to be all here on this Friday team.
Louder, please.
I say it was always a pleasure to be all here in this Friday team with you.
Merci.
The question is, you mentioned two fellows, one in Germany and the second one from Auckland. Does that mean that these people, we can hope that these people will contact us through a means or another one day?
Mrs. Machiventa. Yes. It is interesting that the fellow in Auckland, New Zealand, is a retired, semi-retired Anglican priest who is curious and who is a participant in Academia EDU. And so in his curiosity and his searches in Academia EDU, he must have searched for channeling, must have searched for spiritual beings, must have searched for something related to the paranormal activities of spiritual beings who are also mortals. And so he found the works of this one and began reading and found it incumbent upon himself to comment or make a inquiry to him personally through that site. And so the conversation has begun. Thank you.
That's very good news. This team experienced recently a person who joined also from nowhere is Stephen Patrick, who bring us, I would say, some very new, very good information on AI. And he gave us a masterclass on AI. How is it so powerful, and what are the pitfalls, of course, of the AI? So this also, I see it like somebody coming, pushing by the angel on our back. It's just my comment.
I can't read the dialogue here on the screen. Could somebody help me with that question?
No, I said Stephen Patrick, who joined us recently to present a masterclass on AI, came suddenly to us, and it's appeared to me that he was pushing by the angel on our back to join us.
You are correct. However, this is Machiventa. I caution you that I and my team have little interest in AI due to its incredibly primitive nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Machiventa. I have a question. I was just wondering if these people who are coming to us, are these members to be incorporated into our design team?
This is Machiventa. Thank you, Martha, for your question. This is requirement of your discernment. You must explore who these people are. What are their intentions? Not necessarily, it's not necessarily to know their background, because each of you come with varied, interesting, and sometimes convoluted backgrounds. And so you must discern this. Of course, it would be obvious that to accept them outright upon their arrival as an active, working, contributing member to the team would be extremely naive. You must get acquainted with this individual, befriend them, and understand them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kona, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Machiventa. I would like to take the opportunity to welcome Professor Goldberg with us as an observer today. This is a new experience for him. So you are encountering both Daniel in person and Machiventa, who's speaking through him. And this is an opportunity for questions. So if you have any questions, Professor Goldberg, welcome, and feel free to ask questions if you'd like.
Well, welcome. This is from Daniel. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your curiosity, one of the basic elements of being human.
Well, this team, you know that I have mentioned my professor many times in the development of the design team process. Well, this is Professor Goldberg that I have mentioned so many times, who's
Bravo.
writing on design consciousness. We have had a recent transmission about consciousness from Azala, and so you know, this is just a great experimental place to co-create. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew this is the face with the name.
Nice to meet
So-
you.
Welcome, Neil.
Definitely.
Well, thank you all. Thank you. I appreciate you welcoming me in, and my curiosity is immense. I was telling Kona I have had a little bit of experience with what feels like a very similar process you're engaged with. For a while, many years back, I visited and spent some time at the Flindhorn Institute out in Scotland, who also have a process with relationship with spirit, and I've never delved very deep into it, so it's always been something I've been more curious to understand, and so I was delighted to run into this context with Kona. So thank you.
You're most welcome.
You invited me to offer a question. I guess if I were to have a question, I'm still sort of into the process here, and the question I've spent many years, the last 10 years or so, really trying to explore this concept, what I call design consciousness, the particular expansion of consciousness that I think we're going through, that I've experienced through my work as a designer. I see design consciousness, what designers do as the tip of the iceberg in a sense of a dawning of a deep awareness that we have of ourselves as a creative species, as a creative beings in the way that we are. Not that others aren't creative beings, but we have a very particular place in that, and a very particular consciousness. And my question would be, where does that fit into the grander scheme of things? And I'm very curious to hear about that.
And you, may I address you by your first name?
Please, yes, please.
And what would that be?
That's Neil.
Neil. Thank you,
Yeah.
Neil. I'm smiling and chuckling to myself because your question was anticipated. This is Machiventa Melchizedek. Thank you for your question, Neil. Your species are individuals and as social beings as well. You operate individually, even in groups. The design team process that you're working with and others are working with, what this one and we have given them, is a means by which we can raise the consciousness of individuals in a team setting to think of themselves as one being. This is not an amalgamation of egos or of souls, but of social consciousness, where the group begins to realize that they can take a sense as a representative group of society, to become aware of society as a being that needs, as a social being that needs care. This caring for society and humanity and civilization begins in the team. This is not a new concept, but the teams have been used for many hundreds of years. In this case, this is a team of consciousness, that you come together to work on larger projects with the consciousness of oneness to guide the development intelligently and intentionally for societies to mature. Your societies now are simply organizations of nations, states, counties, provinces, and so on. This is a very mechanical approach to the work of civilization. The work of the design team is organic, whereas government organizations and similar organizations such as profit-making corporations and so on, they are of the basis of object quantity thinking, linear thinking of how to run and function as a group of people for a purpose without intention. We, however, want to teach you the more evolved process of design teams and design thinking in an organic way. And the goals are quality and value. And of course, their decisions are based on the values that are genetic to them. It is our intention to teach your teams how to accept these values to improve the quality of life and living for individuals, families, communities, and societies. As this is an organic process, it engages all members of the team as co-participants, equal co-participants in the work of the team. Whatever project you are working on, it is most likely social. If you are working on AI adaptations to your organizational process, that's another issue. Our concern is upon the improvement of quality and the social evolution of families, communities, and of society. You see, if you examine your societies, national societies, from our perspective, you will see that without any pejorative intention or cast on this, is that they are very primitive. Your societies do not care enough to care for the society itself. And that is a huge evolutionary step. It is a cultural step. Neil, I have gone on and on from your question. If you have more questions, you're most welcome to pose them.
Well, this one that comes to mind is, for now, the way I'm trying to manifest, you're working to manifest this insight I think I have is through teaching, the teaching that has brought me to contact with Kona at a theological seminary here in Berkeley. And I'm writing a book that has turned into a memoir rather than just a book that states the idea. I felt that was a better way to bring it forward. And I'm just curious for any guidance that there might be about how to manifest.
This is Machiventa. Yes, most certainly. You, my friend, are an extension of the intentions for this planet. You are a reliable individual. You have honest, sincere intentions. I sense no guise within you, and you are a good leader. You are an idea person, and so you are developing ideas for readers. We hope that you convey to the readers that you in this memoir have seen yourself as a contributing member to the whole of humanity, and that each individual who takes on this intention for their life, even superficially, can make a major contribution to the good welfare of yourself, your families, and your civilization. It's not, excuse me for chuckling, I like some of your colloquialism. This isn't rocket science, my friend.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Would you like to ask another question, Professor Goldberg?
No, that's plenty. That's good. Thank you very much. Very helpful.
This is
Thank
Machiventa.
you.
May I address the whole team?
Certainly.
Then, as I have explained, the intentions of teams from our strategic point of view, we hope that you will consider this as you mull over the topics that you work on. Your chore as teaching mission extensions of the Urantia book and of the mission of Urantia is to improve humanity, the organization of civilization, and how we and you can help individuals make the profound eternal transition from being immortal on this planet through their passage in this consciousness here to the consciousness on the Marantial realm and onward to their eventual destiny in paradise with the embrace of the Creator. This may seem like a large task, but it begins right where you are, the immediate members of your team, and the intentions you have for your team and the work that it does. Yes, you need to get out of the way the nuts and bolts of your organization, AI being one of them, and so on and so on. Know, truly know that, and when I say no, I wish that you will have and trust in the experience that is coming to you to know that we will provide for you along the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Machiventa, and thank you very much, Daniel.
You're most welcome.
Jacques?
Yeah. Machiventa, I have a question. This group knows that they have to work on Family Learning Center. And this is our main project. But you have also told many times that we have to announce that Celestial are here and have a plan. And maybe that's number one item for us, because if we want the planet to move on, they have to know they have solution available to them within them through their thought adjuster. Do you share this view?
This is Daniel. I'm reading the dialogue here. I didn't understand or didn't follow the first part. I should have opened my eyes when you began speaking.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that the Friday team mission was to create, through the co-creative design team, a plan for Family Learning Center.
Mhm.
But there is another aspect, is you told us we have to announce that Celestial are here, close to us to help us every day. And maybe that's the first urgent item tackle. Do you agree with that?
Yes, thank you. This is Machiventa. Remember, as Lao Tse has told you, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with the first step. And the first step is to develop your work with the family learning centers. And when you have enough information on that, you will then want to present it to the public or to those who inquire about it. You should be ready for those inquiries. And this is the opportunity to tell them about the larger program, the strategy of the work that we are doing with you. One does not mean that you have to complete one without the other. You will find that we work with you by overlapping one project with another and so on. You might call this shingling, as one leads to another and provides the way for the flow of the main mission to flow along easily. You don't need to complete the whole roof, so to speak, until with all the shingles in place. You must be adaptable and to learn to work with the flow. Does this help or not?
Yes, it helps. It is clear, and I think we understand this overlapping of project. Because we all know in this group that as a backup, we have Celestial, angels, midwayers, and so on.
Yes, you, as you can see, that the spiritual program of social and spiritual development on this planet is primary. And that, yes, when you have your meet with your teams, you should begin with this opening first. And later in your team meetings, then you work upon the nuts and bolts of organizational maintenance and development. Thank you.
Kona, please go ahead.
Thank you, Machiventa. I would like to address where we're going into our next phase, which is to do some research in the communities where we live about the family learning centers and best practices. And could you please speak to our team about your suggestions for best practices in doing the actual research? What would you recommend to this team for our research protocols, or how to address research into our communities? Thank you.
This is Machiventa. Thank you for your question. This research is very informal. The intentions are clear. And the premise is very clear. The premise is that there are parents in the world who are already practicing excellent family, child rearing and parenting practices, and that you want to find them. Okay, it's a priority here of development. And one is that you must meet with your team as a group, meet with your team, and discern the questions you want to ask. But before that, you want to discern how to find these advanced, socially mature individuals. Of course, every individual older adult may have a checkered past that may offend people. However, you are looking for the journey of evolution of the individual. Some individuals come from a very disparate, difficult, desperate background. And so how did they become mature as they are now? They obviously did not use the example or model of their parents, but adapted their own, chose their own, made decisions about their own maturity. This is an individual of consciousness who is conscious of themselves as a being who is in development, which is very much like what I've asked you to see your teams for your society. But you begin first by identifying individuals who are mature now. Disregard their backgrounds as long as they're socially competent, capable, and responsible now. And your discovery process is to understand how they became that way. What did they do? And the what of it all is most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Machiventa. I have one follow-up question to that. It seems to be with our group, we want to find experts in the field. Could you give us a comment on the role of experts in our research?
I would advise against that, seeking experts. You have many books to read, research. There is the aspect of the literary research, which is what I'm speaking about. And then there is the indigenous research that you will do in the field. Experts are useful to an extent if they're open to the social, spiritual, emotional evolution of individuals. Experts are not a panacea for you. It's just like, it's very similar to your acceptance of AI. It is not a panacea. You will always have to live with the huge compromises that AI and experts give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Machiventa. I appreciate that. Okay, further questions.
Thank you, Machiventa. There are no more questions.
No more questions?
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. God bless you. Neela, it's good to have met you. I look forward to someday shaking your hand.
I do that as well, and I have to say, from my experience doing design, what you said there was exactly in line with my experience. So the expertise lies, we're all experts in ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the singular objective of design research is to find out what the people who are most expert in their own lives need.
Yes. What works?
And the only way to do that is to go to people who are living the lives that you want to serve.
That's right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to say good day and leave you to your time, everyone, and look forward to speaking with you next week. Thank you so much, Kona, for being here. I appreciate your help. And Martha, God bless you, girl.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Cheryl. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
See you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All
Bye-bye.
Thank you
right.
so much.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Bye, Daniel.
Good seeing
Bye-bye.
you, Bob. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jack. Bye.
Bye.
So
Bye-bye.
Neil, just as a brief explanation, we as the team, Daniel leaves when he's done transmitting, and then we spend a little bit of time working in team on our project. If you want to remain with us and just kind of see what we're doing, I know that they've asked me many times, please invite your professor to come, help us out. So they might have lots of questions for you. How do you feel about entertaining questions today if they have them?
Sure, if I can contribute, then I'd be happy to stay. Yes.
All right, wonderful. Martha, I will turn it back over to you as facilitating.
Thank you very much. And I was just, we obviously know quite a bit about ourselves. Should we quickly introduce ourselves to Neil? Just so that he
Sure.
also, maybe if he can start by introducing himself, and then the rest of us can introduce ourselves so he knows who he's amongst.
Perfect.
I'll just give I don't know how much Kona has told you about me, but first of all, I have to say I'm a fellow landsman with you. I'm originally from South Africa, grew up there, left in the very dark days in South Africa, and so I've never really lived there in what's happened since the transformation. But I have pursued a career. First in England, I was studying, then in America in design. Started off in the furniture industry, came to Silicon Valley when it was just really starting to bubble, and brought this thing that we refer to as human-centered design, which is what I refer to as to me emblematic of a shift in understanding that is much bigger than just the narrow discipline that I've been practicing. And that's been supported, if you like, by the fact that shift towards a more human-centered understanding of design rather than a technology-centered approach has really gone out into the world to the extent that I've been invited to teach design, what's called design thinking, the underlying method behind design, in a seminary, in a school of theology. And it just sort of speaks to how broadly this understanding that, we live in a world that is largely of human creation. You could say in co-creation with the divine is how we refer to it. And that it's important if we're going to, every single thing, not just the decorative objects, not just the pretty things, are designed. And it's up to us to determine how to design them well, and with consciousness and with good intention. My aphorism for what I call design, what design actually is, it's giving form to intention. So anything that you're doing with, there's an intention to create something in the world that has its own form, even if that form is not physically, materially tangible. It is an experiential form. Then that is design. And design, the discipline and the practices of design actually have evolved dramatically in that direction in just the last really decade or two, really is when we've seen a major shift in how designers think of themselves, and increasingly how many more people who aren't trained in design school as I was consider themselves to be designers. They study the design thinking method, and they go off and do all kinds of wonderful things in the world and some terrible things in the world, depending on their consciousness. So that's me.
Thank you. Neil, before I ask the others to introduce themselves, you said something about the divine and co-creation, and obviously that is very much what this team is about, of co-creating with what we imagine to be our indwelling spirits and celestial teachers. But how does that fit into the work that you're doing? Because obviously human-centered design didn't come from a theological or a spiritual perspective initially.
Well, I think you could say everything comes from a spiritual perspective initially, which is may or may not be very
Okay.
The reason to bring awareness to it is because is to encourage an inquiry into what is good intention. Because we create amazing artificial intelligence itself is a object of our creation. And we know now that there can be devastating consequences of how we develop that technology. It's really, really important to understand the spiritual impetus behind creating that technology for good, if we're going to continue to create it. I don't think there's nothing inherently good or bad about it, any more than there's something inherently good or bad about a hammer. They're tools that we create. At the seminary, we teach people the course I teach is called Design Thinking for Social Change. And it's assumed that within a seminary context, the intent is good social change. We also know that apartheid was a very exquisitely designed system. They called H.F. Verwoerd the architect of apartheid. He was a designer. It's just a design that I have much space for in my heart. So I think it's about recognizing that everything we create, such as apartheid on the one hand, and such as whatever we're trying to create here on the other, are objects of design, are phenomena that we put out in the world with the form of their own.
Thank you very much. That was such a useful, just your focus on the intention. It's just a beautiful contribution to the work we're doing. Thank you so much. Jacques, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Jacques Reverso. I'm living in France. I have 70, and I start my career in the aviation society. I mean the Air Force, French Air Force.
Okay.
Doing, I would say, first transmission specialist, and then I become instructor. I was going to do courses on electronic to young military people. And later on, I moved to Airbus, the Airbus Industry Society, in Aviation Society. And then it was a choice I made intentionally with consciousness, because my idea was to learn English, be able to understand English, and also meet people around the world, which it was possible with Airbus. But during all this time, since 1974, I read the Urantia book. I don't know if you are aware of this book.
A little bit. Kona has given me a little bit of information about it.
This book makes my life changed, because it's opened a big window on the universe with all our celestial friends. And since that time, I was always looking for messages on what they call teaching mission, correcting time. And I follow all these steps during, let's say, since 2010, because the message was shared on internet at that time. And I think all the people here around the table are people who follow more or less the same path. Meaning they have been directed by their internal guide, who call him thought adjuster, but it's an inner voice, if you wish. And through this inner guide, we have now gathered on this project altogether. We are coming from different I would say experience. We have different skills, but we are all working now consciously to make social change using the what we call 7 core values. And I think you speak about this word also, values, and this change for me is everything in a project. If each decision you take is based on values, this will change the world for sure. But
Can I just
yeah,
thank you for that introduction, and actually just to add to what you just said, reflecting off of what Daniel was saying in one of the transmissions, it's values and quality. And design is all about, design historically has always been about the quality of things, not the quantity of things. We leave the quantity of things to.
yes.
And design, what has distinguished design from engineering is we think of it as aesthetics, but aesthetics is we think is in only the visual sense, but the aesthetics is every sense. It's the very it's the full content of our reality. Is qualitative, can be looked at in a qualitative sense, and bringing forth qualities as well as in the light of values is very critical.
Thank you very much for that. Bob, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Bob Wilson, and I'm a disabled veteran. I have some background in electronics and computers, but not a lot. But also, I've been chairman of a Veterans Council for about 5 or 6 years. I'm no longer chairman, but I was for about 5 or 6 years, up to about 2 years ago. Also, I was a volunteer at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science for 29 years. And in that capacity, I was interested in paleontology and astronomy and a few other sciences. And my background also involves the LDS Church. I was a member of that church for a while, and from them I learned self-sufficiency and ability to weather difficult times. So that's kind of the background I have, is being prepared for things that might be coming down the road because of climate change and all that. And I have been a Machiventa book reader since 1992. And I learned a lot from that book, and I continually read it. It's very instructive to me in many ways, spiritually and mentally, and way to approach life in a different way, where I think about the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man mostly, instead of just iterating about things of Jesus' life and parts of that. The Machiventa book is more about the holism of spirituality and how it affects our lives and how it helps us grow and develop. And our thought adjusters, as you might have heard earlier, thought adjuster actually is just God within us, and how he relates with us within ourselves, and how we can develop that relationship so that we have more of a reliable connection spiritually with God himself, and how to develop that relationship in a way that we can have a spiritual insight to many different things. That's about it.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kona, do you want to add anything that Neil might not know about you?
Yeah, I don't know that we did a lot of, we've talked a good bit. Born in Idaho, only child, transplant to the South, lived 50 years in the South, encountering, racism and the things that shape and form us. But I was fortunate enough to be in a family that My mom just loved everybody. She just love on everybody. So grateful to have that experience that kind of shaped my ability to be with all kinds of people at all times. I also had a lot of freedom to roam wherever we lived, whether it was the woods or the city. I had a lot of freedom. So I just explored and have kept an open mind about the things that I encounter. She wasn't particularly concerned about what religion I chose, just as long as I chose a path or, explored. Other than that, I'm a mom of 4 kids and 6 grandkids, and being a full-time grandmother parent right now. I think you know that. And new to the Rancha book, we've discussed that and how it kind of fits into things, and where I'm going with the work that I'm doing. So you guys are familiar with that, but I appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much. My name is Marthe Muller. I'm a 12th generation Afrikaner. My sister recently linked us. I think my 12th great-grandmother or 9th great-grandmother was Kritoa, who was the Khoisan translator of Jan van Riebeeck, one of the first colonialists who landed in Cape Town. So I've had an enormous burden of responsibility for white supremacy, I guess, and it's been an interesting part of many of my questions, and also a responsibility that I've been told many times is a spirit blocker. So what I loved about your mention of the word intention is one of the first things I say when I pray is, I'm a child of your divine intention. And that brings the design capacity of the first source and center into focus. So for me, that's an interesting thing to think about. I studied philosophy and political philosophy. I have been interested in other planets since I was 13, and my father, who was a professor of industrial psychology, I could see him raise his eyes to the heaven when I spoke about other planets. So the Urantia book for me just gave an answer to my intergalactic longings. I immediately recognized it, immediately formed part of what I felt comfortable with. And for the last few years, I've been a reader of the Urantia book since about 2002, so about 22 years. But for the last few years, I have a line that keeps on circling in my mind that says the universe was designed for the growth of souls. And for me, governance for the growth of souls is my great passion. I started reading Plato and Socrates and Aristotle when I was 13, 14. And I kept on saying, but why have we designed the world so badly? And living in South Africa, where there were such clear distinctions, I kept on saying, but this is not the way it should be. What's happening? How come we don't understand? So I have enormous respect for the teaching mission and magisterial mission. And I also have spent 20 years being the only white person working in a Black African women's organization called South African Women in Dialogue. We've just in this week until Tuesday, we had a pre-dialogue to a proposed national dialogue that the Government of National Unity has called. And so for 3 days, 100 women sat around designing what they want to do with the country going forward. So yes, I'm very interested in the idea of designing. I also think that African women have an enormous advantage, not because of who they are, but because of what they've experienced. And I think that there's so many wonderful and deeply spiritual answers coming from South African and African women. So yeah, I feel very privileged, and what a wonderful thing to not only have Kona, who's doing her PhD on this, but to have access to you, Neil, to Daniel, who for 30 years has been a transmitter receiver of celestial messages. And when you listen to all of them, and we just looked at how artificial intelligence is using this incredible resource, this archive of transcripts, it just comes out as this block of immaculately ethical answers that everything that you ask just comes back with such love and compassion and ethics and morality. So it does seem that whether one believes that we are indwelt or not, there's just a stream of morality and ethics coming out of what we've all been exposed to these many years. So we're very grateful that you're here. Thank you very much.
So much, my pleasure.
And Kona, if you wouldn't...
Just very curious,
Sorry?
where about in South Africa are you right now?
I'm in Cape Town. I share a wall with the President Hotel. So if you know where the President Hotel is in Sea Point, Bantry Bay, that's where I am.
I
In
grew
a
up,
rented apartment.
I grew up 10 blocks up the hill above you.
Oh, wow. In Fresnay or Fresnay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly where I am. Yes. Thank you. Well, we'll send you some pictures of what it looks like now.
I would love
So
that.
Kona, that is interesting. I was just
Small world.
wondering,
I've been waiting to get you two on the same page.
screen on the
I've
same
got Martha
screen.
over here on the same screen. I've got Martha over here and Neil over here. And I'm like, you guys have got to know each other. And the fact that you grew up 10 blocks away from where she is remarkable. Maybe you can explore at some point where you've crossed paths.
Absolutely.
One of my
And Kona,
favorite beaches to this day is right across the road from you.
Saunders. Is
Yeah.
that Saunders? Yes, yeah, it's Saunders. We're right above Saunders. Yeah, it takes me 5 minutes to get there, 3 minutes. So Kona,
Lovely.
thank you so much. I mean, we feel very grateful. I was just wondering how we can best use the rest of our time. If we have, I don't know if Neil has to leave. We have about 55 minutes in our normal slot. Do you want to
Sure.
summarize where we were last week? To just
How
put
about
Neil in the...
I'll say another maybe 20 minutes or so. So if the
Okay.
Zoom,
So I think, you guys have always had a lot of questions. You say, if we could ask Professor Neil any questions about the process. So I think what would be great if we could give a summary of the Family Learning Center process where we are, and he could possibly, he knows somewhat about that, and speak to where we are in the process and how best to utilize this design team methodology or praxis. And so, Neil, what we've just done is we've taken our design, you and I looked at that, and he's seen what we've done as far as putting together the steps and forming a team. And he has said what we need is the process intertwined in what we're doing. So we form the team, but we have process. And Neil, you and I have talked a lot about the praxis that is missing. And maybe this would be the best time for you to explain from your perspective how this process and methodology fits into the work that we're doing, so that they hear it not just from me, but maybe give a deeper explanation. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
May I quickly ask, did you want to ask something, Jacques?
No, I say yes. We can
Thank
discuss
you.
the process.
Kona, I just wanted to understand, you talking about the 12 steps of the design team
Yes.
process that we put together, and then we had on the side what it would look like for 12 and 13 or 14-year-olds. Yeah. Okay. So please
Right.
take us through that. Shall I bring it up, or doesn't Neil need to see it to respond to it?
Do you remember that the steps, the chart, or do you want to see that again?
it might help, but let me just to calibrate. There's a little bit of a risk of conflating two different notions of what process is and what process we're talking about. The design process that I teach, what's referred to as human-centered design thinking, it's sort of outlined as a 5-step process. And the praxis part of it, the part of that is praxeological, is that, or I would say beyond praxis, it's a dialectical praxis. In other words, it's a sense of the idea that you're constantly iterating through the process again and again and again and again and again, because that's how we grow ideas, that's how we grow a sense of understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, what our intention is, and what forms might relate to that. So the steps of that steps of process, it goes all the way through your 12-step process. You're doing that all the time. You're just going through, I don't know, I can't remember if your process, your 12 steps was sort of chronological.
I'm going to show it. I'll quickly show it as well. I'm not quite sure that I understand totally what you mean, because you said there are 5 steps in your process. And so when you say, so this is what it looks like. I just want to go to the beginning. Oh yeah, so I'll just quickly go through it to the end. So organizers, select team members, bonding, foster a collaborative work environment, define roles and responsibilities, implement effective work processes, continuous feedback, encourage systems thinking, use appropriate tools, determine value system, support professional development, establish facilitating leadership, measure and evaluate performance. Okay.
So to me, what I see in that list are different propositions that some I see as process steps. The first one is get the team together and get everyone aligned around a common intention. Now that fits into the design thinking method. In the first step of the design thinking method, and I don't want to turn this into a seminar in design thinking, but is essentially, I interpret it as setting intention, which is you go out in the world and you do an inquiry. And in this case, you may have, the first thing you're saying is bring a team together, which is great. And obviously to bring a team together within the team, you want to have people who have some expertise within the field, the domain of inquiry. But as I've said before, there's many kinds of expertise. And the most critical kind of expertise are the kinds that you don't necessarily have in your team, which is the life experience of someone who's going to receive what you're going to design. So the expertise you need in your team is the ability to do that open-ended empathic inquiry. Because the way we inform our intentions, the way we inform the process is through empathic inquiry. We can get data, we can go to the internet, we can go to, all kinds of theory books and all kinds of social science discipline to understand more broadly, and that's very important. That's part of the expertise that's around the table, that's within the team. The expertise you need for the project is insight and immersion into the experience of the people who you're trying to serve. When I teach at PSR, I talk about it having a community of service. So the first thing to form a team, you're already assuming you've got some common understanding or intention around a community of service, who you're trying to serve. And going to that community to find out what they need. Now, you've chosen a specific context. The context you've chosen is families and family life. What is the need that families have for them to thrive as a social unit in relationship to other families who are also social units, so there's a larger community. And so having said that, within your team, you're aligned around a common set of values. So I saw that as one of the sort of the many steps. I would imagine that's the first thing you do. Make sure we're aligned around a common set of values. Make sure there's an inventory of expertise. There is expertise around your team table already. Understanding the nature of the expertise you need is really important, because it's not, you don't need to be experts in AI. You don't need to be experts in any specific technology. You need to be experts in having an open-hearted intention to draw information from people who you need to co-create with. So the people who are your subjects aren't really subjects, they're co-creators. They're people who you're visiting,
Serve, yeah.
spending time with, to really draw their hearts out to understand what is they need within the context that you've specified, which is family life, family nurturance, family growth.
Thank you, Neil. I just have one question because it just strikes me the reason we're working on families is primarily because of the needs of the eternal soul, is that it is our understanding coming from the context of the teaching mission that the soul requires a stable, loving, caring family in order to grow best. So I think that's already, so maybe that is where the intention came from there. The intention of having a family learning center is for greater soul. And Kona might have something to, about what, under what conditions do souls grow best, because we have had that conversation.
I think that, yes, you're all informed from a common source. Which is what brings your team together.
Yeah.
Be careful though with intention. It's a little like everything else. It gets tricky within the larger system in the sense that the universe is a fractal. It's a fractal pattern, as above, so below. I don't know if that's necessarily a belief that you share with me, but I certainly hold that as a very firm understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
Intentions are fractal. As you engage in your process, starting with that intention to start with the family unit as a source, you will find layers of intentionality beneath that have to be in line with that high level intention you've already set.
May I just clarify that we all understand the meaning of fractal? In my mind, I see fractal as a smaller, something that's broken down into small, repeatable patterns.
Yes, it's
Right?
pattern.
Okay,
That's patterns. We call
Yes,
it
and
pattern.
at each level of its reality, the pattern is the same pattern as the pattern of the same pattern of it, but you're going into smaller and smaller and smaller scale.
Yeah.
In design terms, we'd say in finer and finer and finer detail. The details within the design, one of the great architects of the world said, God is in the details. In my opinion, that's what he meant. I don't know if he knew he meant it, but that's what he should have meant. It's that we're trying to replicate a pattern from the divine down to the smallest detail of how do you answer the phone when somebody in your organization calls to say, I need help. Right? Within that, what do you do, down to a level below that, how do you record that so that somebody knows what you did?
Thank you, Jacques. You have a question?
Yes, Niels, to understand that as a team, we have this complete idea of we are part of the whole. And now we have also this clear intention that the planet as it stands today is unworkable. So social institutions are down. Education, finance, justice, everything is down. And Celestial have told us clearly, start by family. Family, small community, larger community, nation, planet, but not from the planet to start, family, which makes sense for us. So our intention is clear. It's why we choose creating a family learning center and added these 7 values and adding also ethic and morality in these steps. So the intention, I think, was quite clear within the group to work this way. But the methodology, the process is not so clear.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are running around, coming back, jumping to another project sometime. This is a problem this team is facing.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, and we've talked about that. It's what do we do today that we can carry into our next meeting, to keep this process flowing, because it goes here and it goes here and it goes here, and we're still trying to get to step 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've formed the team, you've got common values, you've got a common intention. I think, you know, you've been divinely informed to work on families. It makes total sense to me, and I have no expertise in that. You know, I have some. That sounds like a perfect starting place. All I'm suggesting when I say that you will learn more about your intention as you proceed with the project, because there are layers of intentionality that what's the intention around the first core. I don't know what you're going to end up having. You're going to have a series. You're going to have some kind of a center where people can come. Is it going to be physical? Is it not going to be physical? There are thousands and thousands of design questions. And all I'm suggesting is you will find you will need to set intention around each of those details. What is the intention around the particular experience of people engaging with the Family Learning Center?
You'll be very happy. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Prof. I interrupted you. I just wanted to say you'll be very happy to know that every time that Kona has interacted with us, she's brought us back to what is the experience of the person we are designing a family learning center for. So thank you.
And the extension from that is that what you're designing in the end essentially is an experience. You're designing the experience of being human in this context. When I designed one of the very first digital cameras, I was designing the experience of digital photography. I wasn't designing a camera. Nothing of what I designed remains, but the experience does. Because what we set in motion when we designed the first digital cameras is what everyone now just considers to be digital photography. Same as I was on the design team designing one of the very first navigation systems. All the technology that we did, all the physical hardware, all the software, it's gone. What remains is the pattern of using your phone to pick it up, to get turn-by-turn navigation, to get from point A to point B. That's the pattern. That's left behind. You are designing an experience. And how you design that experience is intensely important. What's the nature of the experience? In the end of the day, you can't design experiences directly. You're creating affordances for an experience. You're creating the physical environment. You're creating hardware and software and learning materials and rules and regulations and procedures so that people can have a certain kind of an experience. And what you need to find out from the people you're engaging with is what their receptivity to certain kinds of experiences are, what their needs are, and how that will fit into their lives, which means you need to know first and foremost about their lives.
I just love what you're saying, because I keep on thinking, but that is what Spirit is doing. Spirit has designed experiences for us. And the way Spirit finds out how we experience it is by indwelling us. So, I mean, it's just like, wow, amazing design.
The Spirit knows what it's doing, and it's empowering you to go the rest of the way. It can't do the next part. This is the part it needs you. You are acting on its behalf.
It's just amazing. Yeah, wow.
In our also thinking process, each of us know that we are all unique children of God, and we have all a unique experience to perform. So either it's a good experience, bad experience, it's all experiences. And with Kona, we often say, we're always looking for good, but by the way, sometimes it's looking to the bad experience who brings the most important knowledge and I would say, yes, knowledge.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know, the difference between design consciousness and non-design consciousness is the impulse and the agency to believe that when you have a bad experience, you can make it better. Right? Design consciousness centers on our sense of agency to create what we want. So next time, for example, you're trying to do something with the gas company or the phone company or whatever, and you get on a customer service call, and you get in this infinite loop that you can never get out of, and it's a terrible, terrible experience. Know that there are people whose job it is to make that a better experience. Know that if you wanted to, you could embark on doing that yourself. And so I suggest don't worry about the phone company. They'll solve their own bad experience services, but you're working in the realm of families. And you all know that there are many families who have bad experiences. By learning the nature of the bad experience, by learning the experience of that bad experience, you will learn something about what's needed in its place. So when we say design is a
Kona?
need.
It's okay. Go ahead.
So when we say design is about addressing people's needs, another way of saying that is, what are the bad experiences? They need to have a better experience of something that matters to them. If it doesn't matter to them, it doesn't matter. But if it matters to them and it's a bad experience, that's their need. Yeah, Kona.
And this is where dialogue comes in community with the people that you are designing for, which is, what we talked about last time about research. We're not going to get on the internet and hire people to go do research for us. We have to be in dialogue in our immediate communities with the people around us to discover what it is that not only do they want, but what their experience was to got them to where they are. It's very personal. It's, the idea of experts and sending other people out impersonalizes this process, but we are here to have this as a very personal process for our communities. Whatever you do in your community, you bring back here. And then, as I said before, we become the global community. We're informing each other as a global community.
The one thing that also underlies this, what we're talking now about is the design research method. It's a component within the design method, but it's the method of inquiry that relates to design. And as I said, it doesn't preclude doing all the other, survey research and finding lots of facts and details and data. But what we're not looking here for is data. We're looking for insight. We're looking for an understanding. And understanding doesn't come from data. Understanding comes from relationship and experience. So what you're looking for is to have a relationship so that you can bring people into your process so as the experts of the context.
Mm.
And you're going to do it again and again and again. You're not going to do it once and then you know enough and you're done. You're going to go out and do that research. You're going to draw out of that research, and Kona can walk you through the 5-step process. It starts with the inquiry, then you do a framing. You have to define what it is that you learned. And that's a very specific process. And I'm sure Kona I've encouraged Kona to maybe even do a bit of a design thinking training with your team. I think it would be a really helpful thing for you to have a grasp of just the totality of it. There's the inquiry, there's the definition. Once you've defined the challenge, I prefer to call them challenges, not problems, right? Challenge is an opportunity to go forward, and the problem is something you've got to solve, and it's done. We're not solving problems. We're creating openings and ways of moving forward. Then the next step is to come up with a bunch of ideas. We call it ideation within the design thinking process, because you never need one idea. You need thousands of ideas, out of which you'll distill the ideas that fit together well. And this is an intuitive process, and Kona will walk you through it, to synthesize it into something that can be made. A prototype, we call it a prototype, a thing. Now, it's a thing that's not necessarily a physical thing. It could be, let's have a series of meetings where this, and this happens. That's the design. So you prototype it. You bring the people who are in the community of context, you bring them in, you expose them to a prototype of an experience. You'll find out what works, and you'll find out that some things don't work. Do not expect everything to work. Expect to fail. Failure is the only way forward. That's the central premise. Because what's going to happen once you failed, you'll set back, you'll evaluate what happened, you'll learn from it, and you'll start at the beginning, you'll examine your intentions, you'll do a deep inquiry, you'll come up with a bunch of, you'll frame the inquiry, and you'll keep on doing that fractally until you spiral down all the way to have an exquisitely detailed design for the affordances of an experience. And I have to say, what I've just outlined there can be done in any one of your what you've called your 12 process steps. It fits in different ways there, and I would have to parse it out. But it's it's orthogonal to that. It's a different way of looking at a process, at the design process. It's the actual steps you need to do the design. It's not the team formation and stuff. It's assuming there's a team. And I think the work that I see that the team design process is doing, it brings forward the consciousness and the intentionality behind forming the team in the first place. That hasn't been very much dealt with in the design world. And the centrality of value is critical.
Could I just ask you, thank you so much for that, Neil, to just quickly, and I know it probably can't be done, but just the 5 steps in your design team thinking. If you can just, in a few words each, just to clarify for us. I know you've been describing it.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got diagrams, stuff I could share, but I
Yeah.
don't have them accessible right now. But the first step is inquiry.
Okay. Empathetic inquiry, yeah?
The second step is define. So once you've done the inquiry, out of all of that, you get to what we call a how might we question. How might we make this better for these people in this context? Is how might we inquiry. It comes down to you want to have it to be as simple as possible. Shouldn't be complicated. Then you say how, well, let's ideate an ideation. Then you come up with ideas about how you might address that challenge. That's challenge question. How might we do this? Oh, but we might do it like this. We might do it like this. We might do it like this. We use the language of might rather than how will we, because how will we assumes that it gets the brain thinking that there's one way of doing it.
Okay.
And we always want to leave the options open, and yet you want to have a bias to action. That's the other piece of design thing that's really important. Just don't overthink it. Try it out. The minute you've got a reasonable set of ideas, try them out. And then if they don't work, do something else. But at least give it a shot. Don't try to think it through. You can't think it through. Human experience is not something you can think through. So the third step is
let's ideate. You said let's ideate as the third one,
right.
Yeah. Fourth one.
And then there's complexity to that, because then you get a bunch of ideas and you do what we call design ideational synthesis, where you take all your ideas and you try to bring them into bigger and better ideas. You get concepts out of them. The fourth step is prototype. You make it. You try to create a verisimilitude of reality. Now, you can do that in very simple ways. A drawing is a prototype of something I might want to make. When a designer makes the drawings, that's the first prototype. When I make a really crude model with tape and magic markers, that's the prototype. And Kona can walk you through some of the prototyping strategies and understanding. And then once you've got a prototype, the most important thing is test. Bring real life people to engage with that prototype in a lived experience to find out what happens. And don't expect it to work. Expect it to be whatever it is. And draw from the experience of the people who are having that experience to reflect on what it is that's working for them and not working for them, and to observe. And there's specific ways of orienting yourself to do that research in a way that's non-judgmental, but that is laser focused on understanding the experience, again, very empathically. And all the time you're trying to think outside of the normative categories that you enter into processes with. That's what we do all the time. So you're just trying to stand back with a big open heart for that's empathic and a certain degree of spiritual what's the word I'm just objectivity,
All
like.
seeingness, yeah. Detachment? No, detachment.
Detachment is
Intuition.
exactly, yes, exactly. All of those, yes. And then you sit down as a team and you reflect. What did we learn? That's the only question that matters at that part. Not what worked, what didn't work. What worked and didn't work is what you're reflecting on. But what did we learn? And then based on what you learned, you go back to the first step. And so what's the next layer of inquiry we can do to satisfy the questions that we have? Because one of the things we learned is we don't know everything. What don't we know? What do we need to know? We learned, how do we modify our intention? We learned about it. Not that it's going to change. You're not going to be attending to family, but you maybe learned that you had it in mind that it was going to be some organization where families were going to come and there's going to be a physical place. And you learned, oh, it's not that. It's actually a virtual thing. It's an online thing. Or maybe it's who knows what it is, you learn something. But then you have to do a layer of inquiry into that. And you do it all over again. And you get to the end, and by now you've got something that's starting to be a little bit more real, it's starting to take shape, it's starting to have more substance to it, but it's still not ready to go out in the world. Do it all over again. And you keep doing that until you've got a point of launching it into the world and making it into a program, getting real life people signed up, paying money, who knows what is going to actually come out. And the attitude then is you're still not done. You just put the prototype out in the world. This iPhone is just the 10th prototype that Apple put out. And next year they'll put out another one. And the year after that, they'll put out another one. It's the same thing they're doing again and again and again and again, and they're just building up. And that's what you're going to do forever. until
Forever.
something comes along and says, this whole paradigm isn't working anymore. We need something else. And the very big challenge of the innovation mindset is being able to make that discernment. When are we iterating on what already exists, and when are we're jumping out of the system and trying something entirely new?
Neil, what makes for us a difference is we understand this loop process, iteration. But what makes us comfortable is we know that behind we have a backup solution from the celestial. I mean, we have all understood that celestial will never give us the answer. They want us to experience because we are experiential people. So we have to experience ourselves to make the best solution. But if we fail, we can still ask also the celestial to give us some guidance, because they always told us, don't go on a wrong road. If you feel it's wrong road, ask us. We'll tell you, yes, stop here, do another solution. They want us to experience. So this makes also in this co-creative team a big difference compared to, I would say, normal design team.
Absolutely. And I would say my curiosity is how you bring that into this process that I'm describing. I have an inkling of that. I just have a bit of an experience of it because when Daniel was here and Kona asked the question about how much expertise, what kind of experts do we need? Spirit spoke and they said, you don't need experts. I had a slightly different interpretation of that. In the normative sense of the word, you don't need experts. You are the experts you need. But you have to consider that the people you're going to bring in, the subjects, what we normally regard as subjects, and I put that in air quotes because I really don't like to think of it, they are co-creators. You're going to bring in people from the world that you're trying to affect. They are experts in their own lives. So that's just a reframing of the word expert. But in the sense that Kona asked, that you got the exact correct guidance. No, you don't need experts.
Okay.
And it's very hard, you know, knowing a little bit of what I know, it makes that guidance so much clearer. I knew exactly what they were saying. But it's interpretable. There is a layer of interpretation. And I think the challenge in your ongoing development work of the team is to expand your receptivity and your discernment. You know, the word that stuck out for me in that guidance, I can't remember it all, but the word discernment came up a number of times. And I would say within the kind of subtlety of the process, discernment is something you learn and you grow and you grow and you grow.
Well, I'm sure this is the time that you said you have to leave, but we are so grateful that we had the pleasure of your company. So, Kona, if you want to thank him in a special way, but thanks so much from us. What a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your curiosity to want to come and see, you know, what I've been talking about for months now. This process, he tries to, you know, ask me lots of questions about what we do, and I'm like, maybe you just need to come see what we do. Maybe that'll give you a lot of context in our future conversations as we go forward.
Absolutely, yes, it will. And I, you know, it's been such a pleasure for me. I'll continue to talk and meet with Kona, and who knows, there might be more opportunity to engage. But this has been really a delight and a learning experience for me. So thank you.
And we're here every Friday.
And we have some
Same
missing
time.
people. There's some
We
people.
do.
We have B from Canada, and we have Juan from Venezuela, who has no electricity tonight. There's a lot of design.
And David from
thinking
Mexico.
And David from Mexico. So we're missing some some people.
So thank you again.
Just knowing that, one thing I would suggest, it sounds like for the research, you're all going to be going out into your own sphere of context. You're going to be in South Africa, in France, in Mexico, and you know, here in New York. My guess is each of you needs at least a partner in your location. That when you go out and research, you're doing it with somebody else. And that's just I don't know how you do that, where you find those people, but I think it's the richness of this team is you are so globally dispersed, and the risk is the kind of work that needs to be done when you go out and do this empathic inquiry. It's hard to do it alone. It's really hard, and I think having partners and partnership with others would be very helpful. So I don't know how
That's
you
a
do that.
valuable insight. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Niels.
Sure. And Kona,
Yeah,
I guess
thank you.
Another one. We'll coordinate and we'll be getting back.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have another time, another meeting. And just let me know if you feel so led to come join us on a Friday again as we continue to process. You can just kind of see what we're doing, and you can always come. Daniel is committed to being back here on Friday. He took a break for a while, but now he's back. And then we also meet on Wednesdays. And our Wednesday, we're going to talk a little bit about our schedule, but our Wednesday has been about this process. We originally were going to use Sundays as a training day for the design team process, but we're adjusting our schedule. So I'll keep you posted about that, and then we'll connect to reschedule. But again, thank you so much. They got to see the name and the face and ask their own questions and hear from, more cohesively than what I've been able to give.
I'm sure we've done very well too.
I appreciate that.
I believe you have an excellent approach.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. So grateful that you
Thank you.
could be here. Take care.
Wow.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Kona. That's wow. Things are going fast, huh?
Yes, yes, I think so. And I'm really glad that, he was here for the transmission. He was here to answer questions. We have it recording. And at some point, this is going to be a valuable session for me to use in my doctoral program as what's called an artifact. It's a way where the work that I'm doing is connecting with the professor to enhance what we're doing. And I may use parts of this recording as examples. And before I do that, though, I would be getting permission from each of you, a written, statement saying I give permission to use, this your aspect here. So yeah, so it came together. I'm quite happy. I know that we only have about 15 minutes. And we really do need to talk about our schedule, because next Friday I start my classes again, and my class will start at 12:50 my time, which is 10 till 1. So I'll have to exit early. I don't know how it works for anybody to meet a half an hour early, so we get a 2 full hours. That's pretty early for
Me.
for Daniel and for you, right? Otherwise, I might just have to leave early, to be able to be at my class, and you guys know that I'll be leaving early. Do you have any suggestions?
Well,
Other
I'm
suggestions?
starting meetings at 8 o'clock with my Veterans Council, so 8 o'clock's fine for me. So that's an hour earlier if necessary.
Okay. But it doesn't
No.
work for you though, Martha, any earlier, right? Because of your schedule.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. I could ask, is it only one day? Is it only one day?
It's only Fridays. No, it's every Friday for the semester until
It'll
December.
be every Friday. I'm also in an event. I'm speaking somewhere for 3 days. And it includes Friday. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning.
Is that ongoing or one
Maybe-
time?
No, it's just one time. I think we should change it, and I'm going to have to try and join when I can. And I will try and get permission to take an hour and give, arrange hours. Maybe I can give another hour. Let me try and, because I'm the only one who can't do it. If everybody else can do it, I'll try and change my.
What about
Right.
back to Mondays? What about Mondays? Mondays
Oh,
you had
Mondays.
time.
Yeah, Mondays we can, but it will always be, oh yeah, Mondays I can. Remember, if we don't have Mission New Rancho on Mondays, but every second Monday is Mission New Rancho. But I think it's
Mondays with Machiventa.
yeah, but that's late enough. Okay.
But this,
Do you just want to see whether that works, Jacques?
do you think it's working for Daniel? Monday?
Oh, we don't know.
We'll have to
Okay.
check with him.
Because I think
Whatever's comfortable for him, I think let's try and go with that.
Okay, so if we did it on Monday, if we started at 11, we would not interfere with Machiventa Monday if we end by 1 p.m. our time, because Machiventa Monday starts at 1. Does
What time
11
is 11? Is it what time do
11
we
is
start on Fridays? Do we start at 11 on Fridays? Okay, so we start at 5
or
o'clock.
5 your
Okay.
time. Mhm.
5 my time. Okay, no, that's 5 to
yes.
7 my time might work. Perfect.
Okay, so let's try that. Bob, does Monday work for you?
It does most of the time.
Okay.
Coming up in the next few weeks, I'll be in Idaho and I'll be visiting my brother, so I'll be away from things pretty much. But
Okay.
and I'll be gone for about 2 weeks for that.
Okay. So for next week, let's plan on Friday, because Monday is a holiday in the US. And it's short notice to try for us to have a change. We need to connect with B, who may or may not be available on Mondays, and Juan
Okay.
and David. So for next Friday, we'll meet, and I may just have to leave early, but we should have an answer as for the next week, and I'll check in with Daniel.
Okay. And
Okay.
so we keep for next
Okay.
Friday 5 to 7 for us, and it's 11 for you. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And Wednesday, we also we were starting at 12 to 2 on Wednesday. And I think that's fine. Do we want to have a follow-up to the AI session that you had to see how we can integrate that? Or what
I
did you want
think
to
it's-
do?
I think we can
Let's
discuss.
ask.
Yeah, we
Jacques,
can
yeah,
discuss.
please
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
think we can discuss how to integrate AI information we get from Stephen. Even if Machiventa
Okay.
said, be careful with AI, we understand there is some limitation, but still it shows it's very, very powerful to check on some database for some questions. I think we have to learn to use it anyway and to make discernment of the research. But that's a normal
Where
step.
did we did get a transcript from Machiventa
Should-
about AI. Was that through John, Martha? Was that a Machiventa transmission through John about AI? Because we asked that question.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
it's
I think it's through John. Yeah, well, there's also something that came in the last hour. Or 2 hours. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
But it came also
From-
through Danielle in the past, through the PMG group. They asked a
Yeah.
question about AI and they say this is a potential for future, but there is still limitation and there is lack of ethic and morality. That's it. And it was said also last time, John asked the question to Stephen about this aspect. But when you search and when you see the research done by Stephen on TM Archive, it's quite good.
Well, I think
And
that the
the
point
message.
that right, and that Machiventa had given us is that, you know, it's AI like nuclear power. In the wrong hands, it's a disaster. So we have to make sure that we're using it in the right hands for the right reasons, because it's dependent on human use. It learns from us. AI only develops as well as we use it. So the more we use it for good, the greater the internet or the AI experience will have a moral value, an ethical value in the content that it creates. So from that perspective, you know, we're training AI to think more morally clear.
right. We lead it
So
to the database that we have for transcripts and things too. So that's very helpful.
right. And where
Oh,
we get our
Doctor,
information exactly.
do we have a meeting Sunday?
No, we've decided that Sundays are not a good day.
Okay,
Right.
so it's scratching Sunday.
Scratching Sunday, because, you know, even though we have, you know, Machiventa has asked us for more time, we realistically are going to have to adjust our lives in order to give more time. And I think it's better to give quality to our 2 days. And once we get there and we're like, okay, now we can add another space, then we do that. So we're not gonna meet on Sundays, Bob. But thank you for asking that, because we hadn't made that clear. Okay, so today's Friday, so we'll see each other again on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And in between now and then, I'll communicate with Daniel about a possible change to Mondays.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
how are we doing with Zoom? How are we doing with the Zoom connection and hosting?
For me, Zoom is okay on my side because I pay a pro version. So like David, the same version as David. About translation, I don't know, because Juan was not here today. I don't know if it's would be bad. I think, yes.
Sorry, David said that he pays an additional sum for the translation.
He pays an additional fee, like $5 a month or something.
I think he pays $5 a month for the translation. So that is what we have to. So really, we need to get Jacques and David together.
Okay, I can. I will ask David. Which
would you ask him?
Yeah, I will ask David which module he was added.
Yeah.
Because when I look at it, my translation is part of my package. So I will ask David for that. Okay.
Please do, yeah.
Okay. And what I will do this time, will not send, because it was my fault, I will not send a short version to all the team. I will send it to you, Kona, and to you, Martha, the short AI version. And then I will check with Juan, so that the long version, usually Juan has a sort of tool to transform 100 pages to something about 40 pages. Then I will,
27. Yeah.
yeah, then I will go through, and then I will come to you, Martha.
Okay. Yeah, because
Because,
it took me a few hours. It
oh
takes him
yeah,
3 hours. It takes him 3 hours with his new tool, and
no,
it takes me about 4 hours or 5
oh
hours.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
because while Daniel was speaking with Machiventa, I was also reading the text, and
Mm.
some words that were spoken were not correctly translated.
Yes.
And so it's obvious. So you need at least to listen the video to make
Mhm.
some correction. And then at the end,
Yes.
it's up to you to validate the final one. Okay, we do
Are
that?
we
Because
gonna
And I
have
was
the,
doing,
Are we gonna have the translation today then for last week?
Yes, Martha, I think we can dispatch the
Yeah, we can.
last.
I
Last
haven't
file.
looked at it, but I trust you, Martha. If you've listened
Maybe
to
you
it.
should, or
I
maybe
mean,
just.
I
just want to,
can.
if you have a moment, I just wanted to say that today I saw when Daniel was speaking, it said you're an idiot person when
Yeah,
he
yeah,
said you're an ideas person. So,
yeah, yeah. There are
so we really have to
We
be
have to
careful.
catch things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, very
Okay,
good.
so
Thank
thank
you
you all.
so
It
much.
was,
Yeah.
oh, we are progressing very fast.
Hmm.
Well,
Lovely.
Yeah. That was really.
Yeah. I
Thank you,
appreciate all of
Shall we?
you.
everybody. Thank
I
you,
have a
our
closing
Thank you
prayer.
spiritual
so
friend.
much.
Can we have a closing?
Yes, a closing
Yeah.
prayer. Yes.
Why don't you
Do you
go
want to-
ahead, Martha, since I
Okay.
opened?
Okay. God of universes who indwells our human minds, thought adjuster ours, beloved eternal companion, Machiventa Melchizedek, our planetary manager, Mount Jarenson, our magisterial son, Mother Nebudonia, Christ Michael, our sovereign, who lived amongst us as Jesus of Nazareth, and who left us with such an example of love and discipline. We thank you for your presence in our lives. We thank you for our awareness of the indwelling spirit. We thank you for bringing to us those you've brought to us, Stephen, Neil. We thank you for the constancy of Daniel, who has spent 30 years bringing through your messages. We ask that you open our minds, that you open our hearts, that you open our imaginations, so that we may become aware of how we may best help you unfold your divine agenda on our planet at this time. Please take away from us all that no longer serves us. Let us pray the null prayer. Take away from us that which would take us in the wrong direction, and gently lead us in the direction in which we can serve you best. We thank you for the awareness of new people who will serve our group. We thank you, spiritual teachers, for your presence. We love you. Thanks for loving us too. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah, thank you. And Martha, I have news about some of our YOAM business. If you want to take a rest, get something to eat, and give me a call when you have a chance, we can
I will
converse
do
this
that, yeah.
afternoon. Okay,
I would love
perfect.
that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll quickly go and
Sure.
get something to eat with my son. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Love you
everybody.
guys.
What's a
Good to
pleasure.
see you.
Love you.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
See you soon.
Care.
Bye. Bye,
Many
Mom.
thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.